You did like you, I'm going to.
She wants coffee. That's what the girl about a round of coffee. What's on? She didn't.
For winning?
She bought her own. Now he's going to get a coffee.
Sure, you too.
It's gonna be royal. Though.
Kids love that shit. Are you serious? Got your cup of coffee in there. Make sure everybody got room.
36.
I did join.
So did that way all the weights down. And I put like 2 shoes for each weight class. And I said, they don't have more coming by kids. Do they? Here we go. Might have 30 on right in there.
Reconvene in open session.
So move.
Second. Second.
Yep.
Jeremy.
Yep. Just wait.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Mine just
Where's my
came
book?
up.
Two student expulsion, case 21-22-10. Fact finding here conducted by the administration panel, motion by board member Maria David, and seconded by board member Jeremy O'Banion. It is moved that the Board of Education find there is cause to expel student number 91-372-08 from all schools in the district for violation of Ed Code section 489002 R.1.C.I.K.1. Special Education Code as they apply include 489002. It is further moved by the board. It is further moved that the board adopt the terms of the stipulation expulsion order, which is to suspend the expulsion and to have a student attend and remain at the alternative education program at Dos Palace Independent Studies. It is hereby ordered that the pupil shall be provided with an education program at the Dos Palace Independent Studies for the current semester of 2021-22 school year. Roll call vote. Mrs. Davis.
Yes.
Mrs. Austin.
Yes.
Mr. Bonds.
Yes.
Mr. Marazza, yes. Mrs. Reyes.
Yes.
Mr. O'Banion.
Yes.
Mr. Van Wert.
Yes.
And it passes. Four point three, anticipated litigation, significant exposure to litigation pursuant to Government Code 54956.9B. One case. Do I have a motion?
So move.
Moved by Board Member O'Banion, seconded by Board Member Davis. Call for the vote. Four point four, report out of closed session. 5.1, pledge of allegiance. Mr. Van Wert, please lead us.
So I pledge allegiance to the
flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Invocation by Mr. Davis.
Good evening. Please bow your heads if you're so inclined. Lord, as we see all that is going on around us, we ask you to let us be mindful and thankful of our blessings. We ask you, Lord, for peace, protection, common sense, grace, humility, patience, and wisdom for those who are in positions to make decisions. We ask your continued protection on our students, staff, and community. In your name we pray, amen.
7.1,
First and second.
21-22. Second interim budget report presented by Melissa Kilpinski.
So move.
Call for the vote.
Nope.
No roll information item.
Nope. She talked, let her talk.
Good to go?
You're
We're
good
good
to
to
go.
go. I'm just rushing through. My apologies.
Sorry about that. Please, sir, for a moment. Well, good evening, board members and tonight, it's unbelievable that we're here. The second interim report is already March, and much of the year is complete, with the rest of it going to be zipping right along. But as a requirement of AB 1200, we need to report our financial condition of the budget at this time. So I think there's a presentation that for you, and it's also on the screen. So the second interim will reflect the budget adjustments to the first interim budget report that I presented in December, and it's for all the budget changes up through January 31st. So what's new since the first interim report? Advance the slide. Please. There we go. So since the first interim report, the COLA, the cost of living adjustment, has increased, not for this year because this is locked in at the 5.07%, but for the out years, the 22-23 increased from 2.48% to 5.33%. And it's actually predicted that it won't stop there. The estimates, because of inflation, appears the final factor for the COLA happens at the end of April. And once that happens in the governor's May revision, we could see the COLA go even beyond this, the amount that's there, 5.33. It's projected maybe to go as high as 6.1, only because of inflation. Is a 6.1 COLA keeping up with the 7 plus inflation? It's hard to know how that's going to all pan out. So we'll just see how that goes there. But the projection of the second interim does include the higher COLA in the multi-year projections. Next slide, please. So the other thing that changed was at the first interim, we didn't know what our P1 ADA was going to be at for the year, because that is taken at the end of December. So what actually happened was the projection for P1 historically has been 94% of our enrollment number. And so my projections were 21-29. And what actually happened was the P1 average daily attendance came in at 2038.59, and that's just 89% attendance. Why is that? Well, we know we were dealing with this whole part of the year, which was COVID illnesses and quarantines and independent study work that we still are gathering in and may get credit for. So we'll see how that pans out. But at this time, with the projections that we have, this report incorporates the lower P1 ADA, which is 2038, plus the county and the county students, so another 30 beyond that. So that is a loss of 891 ADA, which is pretty significant. Next slide. So I wanted to provide you where we've been as far as enrollment goes and ADA. So here's a chart that shows that. 2018-19, our enrollment was at 2427. That was the last year it was on the rise. We've been slowly ticking down in the years subsequent to that. Next slide. So why do we talk about COLA and ADA? Well, that actually affects the biggest component of our budget, and that's our ongoing revenues and our LCFF. And here is that equation that is our local control funding formula, which is where we get our dollars from the state revenues. It's our average ADA, our average daily attendance, times the dollars in the base, supplemental, and concentration grants. And that equals the dollars that we have for our to educate our students. This next slide shows that the base grant actually is different for K3, 4, 6, 7, 8, and 9, 12. When we get that COLA percentage, that's that second line, the 5.33% COLA is added to that original base grant. And then there's the add-ons for our K3 grade span and the 9-12 CTE. adjustment, and then that's the new adjusted base grant. And then on top of that, are those two additional pots of dollars that come to help provide increased and improved services for our duplicated students. Those are our low socioeconomic, our English learners, and our foster youth. So here's the dollars of those base grants that are used that we multiply by the ADA. Next. So when you put it all together, when you have ADA going up, as it shows in the arrow there in the middle, and the COLA going up, we have lots of dollars in our LCFF funding formula. That's a big thumbs up and a happy face. But when we have ADA going down in our situation where we'll have to catch up to the declining enrollment next year, and even if the COLA goes up, even if it's 6.1, the down and the up might just even out, and we could see flat funding. The COLA is a percentage that is to increase and to maintain the same funding level. So that's the purpose of the COLA. So as far as dollars for the district, this is our current year, and our current year is based on our prior year, which is actually 2 years ago, ADA, because of the whole term was in the pandemic. So we have our 5.7% COLA times the students we had in 1920, or ADA, 2254 students. This year, they added that additional 15% to the concentration grant, so there's that extra $1 million there. And so our year this year looks great for 21-22. The revenues from the LCFF compared to the prior year is up 2.4 million. It's a great year. It's just a visual that shows you the bottom. The bottom is the base grant, and then there's the base grant adjustment and the supplemental grant, concentration grant, and then incorporated into that LCFF is what we had originally gotten back in the day for transportation and targeted instruction improvements. So those are part of it too. That's just gives you an idea. But it all just kind of builds on top. So this is the new COLA projections applied to the fiscal years 22-23 and 23-24. You can follow the net change from the prior year on the bottom line. So going into 2021, we had a reduction in LCFF funding of 664,000. And then our this year's increase to our LCFF funding of 2.4 million. That change column just shows you that because of the loss of students, we'll be losing ongoing revenues of 1.1 million. So then carrying into 22-23, it's not 1.1 million loss because we're going to add the COLA there. So it kind of then just evens it out a little bit there. Next slide. I just went over these exact calculations, but that gives you the visual if you want to look at it that way. That's for 22-23. Next slide is 23-24, where the COLA could change, but at the moment it's 3.61. We don't know what our ADA or enrollment is going to be, so I kept that the same, still at the 15% concentration. And so we would see an increase of 862,000 more going into 23-24 if these parameters stay the same. That's a good one. The other thing, the other part of revenues that sometimes change is our lottery and our mandate block grant. It's very minimal, and the total amount of a mandate block grant is just over $91,000. So while it's great to see an increase there, it's not going to be any significant revenues added to our budget. We'll definitely take it. So the next slide is the total increase to revenues. So there's a big number there. There's an increase of 1.6 million revenues added now at the second interim. So where did those dollars come from? If you look at the bars, the three columns on the right, I have the breakdown in the unrestricted column. There's the loss to the ADA, to the LCFF funding formula, just a slight amount because of our county students. State revenues went up a little bit. That was our lottery. And then in our restricted column, there's additional federal revenues, 15,000, and then 1.6 additional state revenues. So what is that? Later you'll hear from Mr. Mendez about the expanded learning opportunity program, a new ongoing program, and this is the funding for that. It's just a little bit over 1.2 million for that. And then there's two other additional grants that are over 200,000 that are also in there. The next slide gives you the exact breakdown of the changes in revenue. So you can look up each specific program. So on the next slide is a nice little pie chart that shows all of our revenues. Broken down by state and unrestricted and restricted. Blue is unrestricted. The yellow is restricted funds. And the ones that are in the checkerboard or the dots, those are COVID dollars. So we've spent year to date $3.6 million in our COVID dollars. All for all the years that we've had COVID this last year and this year we've spent 8.7 million. There's 1.6 encumbered. That leaves $7 million of COVID dollars left. A slide on that today, so I want to change that. So next we'll look over at our expenses because things change in expenses also at this budget interim. So the consumer price index, the amount of inflation is going up. So so that rate has changed to 5.7% where it was just 3.96% at first interim. So we're going to incorporate that into our multi-year projections. The others on there are the same. Next slide. And here is the expenses that are new. What you'll see here in particularly those right three columns, there's not the $1.6 million in restricted expenses added as an expense to balance that revenue that I said we added this time because we really won't spend $1.6 million in a program that's not up and running and off the ground this year. So we don't lose those dollars, we don't lose those expenses, they will just roll over into the next year in their bill. They are what we call falling to fund balance. So you can see on the next page, the only increase for expenses is the $275,000. That was just as a result of balancing the federal resources that changed in those resources have to balance. So those adjustments have to be. On the next slide, this shows you where the restricted funds, such as our ELOP program, the Expanded Learning Opportunities program, the dollars that land in our restricted fund balance. That amount is $1,273,359. So taking a look at the net decrease in the restricted fund balance, and this is just our restricted dollars. I wanted to provide our journey from budget adoption. It's an adopted budget. There was a deficit of $933,000. And then at first interim, because of all of the changes, and particularly the increase of the 15% to the concentration grant, which is a specific use, we now are at positive, a net increase of 272. It had been reduced just slightly due to that loss of some of those LCF holders. Taking a look at the general fund balance in all three categories, the two categories, unrestricted and restricted, and then total, you can see the breakdown there. So the net increase for our restricted fund balance is 1.1 million, for a total of 1.3 million. We're almost there. Now we're going to look at the multi-year projections. So here's what the roadmap looks like today, as far as how we're going to this year and what will it look like going into it. There's still a lot of unknowns in our scenario. Inflation, what will the governor's budget look like? He's proposed, but it's gonna revise in May, and then it still goes to the legislature and they decide on something by June. And then there's still 45 days to make revisions to that, so. But at the moment, we see that this projection does show that we can meet our financial obligations. Although you can see in 23, 24, that at this time, while we are maintaining our 16% reserve, there's less assignments. That means that currently, if we don't change anything, we will be spending down our reserve that we have here. So let's now just look real quickly at our cash flow. Cash flow with the blue heading. Actual cash come in and gone out. The rest of them are there's still a significant amount in the accrual column, which means that not all the revenues that we have to spend this year, some are going to spill over to next year, so that's where we're in the accrual column. And then the county office wants to see a 2-year cash flow. So the one in green picks up from there. It's and incorporates the $50 for 2023, but all of it is a projection. There's no actuals in for 22-23. Looking at the ending cash, it still does show that we have a positive cash balance. And the one after that. So I recommend that the board vote to certify the second interim report as positive. Meaning that the district's financial obligations maintains at least a 3% reserve. Next slide, I provided what qualified means and also negative. That concludes my report.
Question? Davis?
Yes.
Back on page 12, so you know exactly what that equates to as far as slides. The second interim, what is new since first, you show a net increase of 257,941. But I just want to make sure that I am noting this asterisk correctly, that this does not include unsettled negotiations. So that is the current number.
Yes.
Once that were to settle, that is going to decrease, correct?
Yes.
And so that impact, if it is settled at 4%, is $896,000.
That's correct. That's what the 4% is.
Okay.
And it is not incorporated at this time.
It is not incorporated because it's not settled,
It's not
but so these bottom line numbers that we see are only the bottom line until that time
Right.
that there is an agreement, if and when there is an agreement made.
Classified because you haven't approved it yet.
Well,
Correct.
And this interim report ends on January 31st. Everything that's going on right now is after even that date. So yes, but I will have, I think it's 45 days to incorporate those adjustments into the budget and present them to you.
Okay.
So you bring them back.
And with respect to a reserve, so
Yes.
you know we see this reserve number, and it looks like, and it is a large amount of money. I understand that, but our current reserve, what are our financial obligations versus what our reserve is? So if in fact we got into a situation, as we know that we did back however many years ago it's been, 16% gets you how far in life? A month,
How long do it?
6 weeks? How long do we stay afloat?
So 16% is roughly about 5 million, and payroll is about 2 million a month.
2.5 months.
So about 2 months, and
And
then
that's just payroll. We have
right,
other
that's
expenses
not
too.
other expenses. So
Really, it's just about a month.
thank you.
Yes.
Thank you.
We'll have a motion.
You already did.
Call for the vote. I'm gonna take notes here, guys. Report, Mr. Rose.
Board of Trustees, community meetings. We're in March. It's like March is what we used to call the longest month. It's crazy that we're already flying through it. So April and May and June seems to go even faster. So maybe it's already done in March. And this is so enrollment data for this month or for this year. Continue to track it. COVID district reports, so Dpol testing center this month or month of February, we administered 6,867 tests. So we'll continue to keep the testing center open for our students and for our staff. These are just data points. With students, continue to have 444 total incidences of COVID, but our positive cases are definitely declining with 48 student positives. COVID news and updates. So safe return to school plan. I know last month I said in front of everybody that you guys won't see this again for 6 months. But our team did try to bring it forward once again to update the masking policy, and that way our website and parents in our community know it's reflective upon there. So as of March 12th, masking update has changed. It is now optional for students and staff to wear masks both indoors and outdoors. And again, testing centers will continue to facilitate tests, and our unvaccinated staff will continue to be tested weekly until OSHA makes that change. Attendance data. So month of February, we're at 90.1%. It was nice to not see a drop. It seemed like we're continuously dropping, but our teams are working extremely hard to work in March, April, and May, having attendance incentives, attendance challenges, talking about positive attendance and what that looks like in and out of the classroom. 14.7 was our chronic absenteeism percentage. Mrs. Crivelli and her team are doing a great job in supporting the school sites, trying to get the chronic absenteeism percentage to stay below that 15.4%. Suspension data, we had a rough month in February. We had 25 suspensions, both due to altercations and tobacco use seem to be the primary factors. So our teams are working on going back to October or to September, and what do we do? Conflict resolution skills. You will see an SEL component or platform called Ripples on this board-approved board agenda that we feel will dramatically help with suspensions. Academic and social emotional. So we started instructional walkthroughs and we ended the month in February completing 250 instructional walkthroughs. So those participating instructional walkthroughs at this time are our admin team, myself, Mr. Mendez, Mr. Van Almen, and so we're going to continue to show a breakdown of how many classrooms our teams have been in the month of February. So our goal is 50 a month. As you can see, high school and BMS went over that, but everybody's doing a great job within that goal. Winter benchmarks. So we took our winter benchmarks. Back to instructional walkthroughs. We are working on, so George Christian will be implementing instructional walkthroughs, and the preschool will also start implementing instructional walkthroughs. So in the upcoming months, we'll start seeing data on those campuses as well. Winter benchmarks have been taken. In comparison to the fall benchmarks, there's an 8.9% increase in number of students who have met or exceeded on the ELA assessment. Unfortunately, on the math benchmark, we recognized a 5.3% decline. However, we do need to keep in mind that it's like apples and oranges. So our benchmarks are only assessing the standards that are being taught. So it's more beneficial to compare year to year rather October to December. Our team and Mr. Mendez is going to be working with our teams in shifting to the mindset of summative assessment, and this is shifting to a growth mindset. So we'll have our CFAs that are like our benchmarks, but moving in the direction of be able to see the growth our students are having from the beginning of the year to the end of the year. Thanks, Lauren. Student activities. So great things are happening on the campuses. I wish I had 5 slides for student activities. In the left corner, we have our Dpol students in the STEM lab. On the top, we have Read Across America Week, and our high school students went and read to our MARC students. Anytime high school kids are on our campuses, the kids just love it. So it's great to see the smiles on everybody's faces. At the bottom, our high school went to San Francisco, Sacramento. Thank you, to UTI, and got to experience what that school has to offer. In the right-hand corner, they had a week where Merced College came out and signed our George Christian kids up, evaluated transcripts, got registered, and even brought backpacks for our kids. So they were super excited about Merced College backpacks. So a great job there. In the bottom right-hand corner, there are some teachers who are interacting with our students, and I wish I could blow the facial expressions up because they're having a great time. That actually happened today. Thank you, Director Sullivan, for barbecuing for our students and staff today, and trying to build the culture at Bryan Middle School. So, it's a great job, Mrs. Sanson, for facilitating. District news and upcoming events. So TK Kinder registration. The registration part has started, but we actually start roundup on Monday. So we'll keep spreading the word. If you have a child that turns 5 before April 2023, let's shout it and get them registered so we can start planning. CTE first annual car show is not this weekend. As you know, it's supposed to rain on Saturday. It hasn't rained in how long? And as soon as we plan a community event, it has a 60% chance of rain. So we have postponed it to next week. And thank you for everyone in the community, on the board, our admin team, who have been doing a tremendous amount of work to make this happen for our kids. We have a WASP visit next week at the high school. So our district office team and leadership team will be involved in that. Bottom middle is our staff restrooms at Marks, and our staff is really excited about having some restrooms over there. So in their finishing stages, goal to have them done by May. That's looking like we're gonna hit that target. I mentioned the barbecue already, thank you. And then phase 2, left-hand picture, phase 2 of the track is open to the community in the evening hours. It opens at 5:30, and that's to account for our student athletes that are on the track practicing. Recap of district shout-outs. City of Dos Palace and Dos Palace FFA. Shout out to them for honoring FFA week and recognizing the work done by the students. They had a great week and definitely did a great job recognizing staff and students. CAC president and negotiating team for finalizing the 21-22 agreement for their unit. You'll see a board approval with their tentative agreement today. Mrs. Robledo, Mrs. Gonzalez for facilitating robotics. So we have a robotics club at Bryant Middle School now, and Mr. Mazzone for facilitating a hiking club. So we've been sending our students they went to San Francisco. That was the latest trip, and they said they had a lot of fun. So great engagement activities. And then Coach Lemos and Coach Grants and Clark for not only facilitating winning season, but also teaching our student athletes about sportsmanship and respect. They won the league championship at the high school gym, and it was great to see. Any questions?
8.2, report from board members. Lost him. Mr. Van Worth?
No.
Mr. O'Bannon?
I want to piggyback on the comment about Mr. Lemos and Mr. Clark. That was the wrestling. That was our junior high wrestling team. They had a really good run. They had a lot of kids, probably some of the highest numbers they've had. A lot of good kids out there. I was at the tournament. They did a good job. Dos Palace dominated the whole time through. So, and you're not talking about kids that have wrestled. You get about 4 kids out of 17 weight classes, 19 weight classes. And I think 4 of them have ever wrestled before this year. So they should be commended on what they did. I think 13 out of 17 or whatever, 19 kids were in the finals. It was really good. And it was a lot of people in Dos Pastos that day. It was really nice to see. Thank you.
Ace Albania got second place.
He did. He did. First time ever.
I have none.
I was invited to participate today with the ROP Portfolio Day. So I would like to thank Mrs. Hunger and Conger for including me in that. I love when I have an opportunity to interact with the kids and see what they've been doing. And it's really very impressive what, even under the circumstances, they've been able to accomplish, and they're excited, and that makes me happy. And just a bit of painful truth, I want to tell you thank you, and I appreciate you, but I just kind of don't feel like that's enough, because I've been told that it's not. And I do thank you, and I do appreciate you. For those of you that that's enough for, thank you for appreciating us and what we're trying to do for all of you. And for those of you that that's not enough for, I'm really sorry. And we're all doing the best we can do under these circumstances. That's all. Thank you.
Mr. Reyes,
Got nothing.
Mr. Bones. 9.1, public concerns will be heard by the board at this time. However, they will not be discussed. Policy 23 limits individual presentation to 3 minutes. The president may extend the time under certain circumstances. This is the opportunity for the members of the public to focus on issues important to the district's purpose of education. Under board policy, this time may not be used to present derogatory information of a person of any nature or any employee. Members of the public who wish to address the board must speak from the podium and identify themselves. Does anyone wish to speak at this time?
Good evening, board members and community members, colleagues, staff. Thank you for giving me this time. My name is Katie Miller. I am the lead teacher at George Christian Educational Center, senior class advisor, and former CTA bargaining committee member. I would like to thank the school board and the district negotiating team for the offer of a 4% salary increase and a $2,500 one-time payment for this year. I believe this is a fair offer that should have been taken to the CTA membership for a vote. Unfortunately, the Dpol executive board disagreed, and I have found myself in the middle of a very nasty situation. A situation where, as of Tuesday, the 4-person executive board voted me off of the bargaining committee and explicitly informed me that I was not to speak to certain members of the CTA. When I was asked to join the local CTA bargaining committee and relinquish my role as site representative at George Christian, I was honored, and I took responsibility as a bargaining member very seriously. I look forward to working with the district team and our members to come to an agreeable and fair resolution to negotiations that have been ongoing for several years. I honestly thought that my ability to think rationally and understand the position of both sides would be beneficial in coming to a mutual agreement, and I was mistaken. I take full responsibility for not completely being aware of all the issues CTA was negotiating before agreeing to be on that committee. I am disappointed in myself for not insisting on getting my questions answered as they arose. I often express my frustration with my own team many times, and although apologies were made for mistakes and bad decisions, nothing changed. After our last negotiation session, an email was sent to the members, and I felt compelled to reply, a decision that I do not regret. I will not expose the initial email, and in the event that some of you are new to this, please allow me to read my response that seemed to be the catalyst of my removal from the bargaining committee. My response read, I would like to preface this response by saying that we are all very fortunate to have kept all of our jobs during the shutdown. I would also like to remind everybody that our school board and district administrators decided well before the governor offered extra money that everyone in our district would remain on salary with full benefits. This is something that no other district, to my knowledge, enforced with their entire district. I would be happy to discuss negotiations at the Zoom meeting on Monday, as I honestly believe the district representatives did not imply that the county would take over next year if we got a 4% salary schedule increase. I am fully aware that negotiations are sometimes tough and can take a long time to resolve. I also fully believe that we could have settled with their offer and then quickly moved into negotiations for next year, asking for another increase that would have resulted in a higher overall salary schedule raise with all the extras. We are here for the students and one another. Squabbling will get us nowhere. We need to be honest with what we want. We need to have transparency with actual numbers. We need to do our jobs and we need to have peace. We also need to be honest with ourselves and realize that it is very difficult to fight for a raise for all of our members when some of our members are blatantly disrespecting our profession and on some campuses literally walking off the job for unrelated reasons to these contract negotiations. Sincerely, Katie Miller. After I sent this email, I also created a simple survey and sent it to all members asking their opinion on how they would distribute a 4% increase. Although I received a great deal of support from my email and survey, it was definitely overshadowed by a handful of teachers sending negative messages privately and publicly. I was told that I was untrustworthy, showed division among the membership, was, quote, very unprofessional, and, quote, pushing the district's agenda. I have mulled these messages over in my head for many days and have gone through all of the emotions while constructing the statement. Initially, I was ready to defend myself and call into question all of the other unprofessional and untrustworthy actions of those few. Was I offended? I was absolutely offended by the audacity of people who did not step up to the table or ask me any questions about my stance and felt entitled to discredit my reputation. However, I have learned to watch my words, my tones, and my reactions. I have learned that not every accusation requires a defense. I take great pride in my trustworthiness, professionalism, and my ability to navigate the educational system to benefit my students. I have no doubt that the school board, community, students, and like-minded colleagues are aware of my dedication and absolute passion for this district. In terms of pushing the district's agenda, I am guilty as charged. I hold true to the belief that we should all be on the same page with producing confident, respectful, productive, and responsible leaders who thrive in meeting the current and future challenges. I wholeheartedly believe that we should serve the community through education with integrity and accountability in the best interest of students. By upholding the vision and mission statements every day and every way makes us all better together. I firmly believe that the school board members deserve apologies for the misleading misinformation that has been broadcast to our members. The mistakes that have been made, the misrepresentation of the district's position, and the overwhelming time that each of you have spent trying to unravel all of this for each person that has called and contacted you. I personally apologize for my part in initially encouraging members to contact you. I should have had all of my facts straight before jumping on the bandwagon. Thank you to those who have taken the time to speak rationally and professionally with myself and others in an attempt to clarify murky information. Your dedication to your position and to this district has not gone unnoticed, and I appreciate you. Yesterday, I was fully prepared to formally terminate my membership with CTA. After reading the CTA handbook section on terminating membership and discovering that I would have to declare, straight from the book, quote, I understand that my decision to terminate my membership from CTA may result in reduction in bargaining strength, ultimately affecting my current wages, hours, and working conditions. In addition, my decision may also have detrimental effects to my future wages, hours, and working conditions. I have chosen to remain a member of CTA, technically in good standing. I may stand alone tonight, but I am confident that other members of CTA will begin to understand how fair the current offer is. I urge CTA members to investigate these reasons that the offer has not gone to a vote. I encourage members to ask questions about what exactly we are negotiating. I fully support a group effort to let the executive board know that they are not the ultimate decision makers. Teachers, our integrity is at stake. Thank you for your time, and please feel free to contact me if you want any other information.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Anybody else wish to speak? 10.1 consent calendar, represent routine items acted upon in one motion by roll call vote. The recommendation is for adoption unless otherwise specified. Any item can be removed for discussion upon request. No motion.
Nope, read all of them.
Contract agreement proposal 10.2. One Excel online learning platform renewal. 10.3 second step SEL program K-8 renewal 2022-2023 school year. 10.4 Illuminate education renewal 22-23 school year. 10.5 ID Bailey LLP contract for auditing for the years ending in June 30th, 2022, June 30th, 2023, and June 30th, 2024. 10.6 document tracking services. Donations, 10.7. Book donation for the Dos Palos High School Library presented by Sergio Padilla, Assistant Principal at Dos Palos High School.
Can we pause there for a moment?
Yeah.
So, good evening, meeting members of the board, everybody in attendance. Mr. Morales, if I may just for a second. I want to thank everybody. It's been a heck of a couple of years here. I think that this district's come a long ways. We're pretty strong from what we were, making it with all the challenges we faced. 2 years ago, a lot of you guys were on the board, and I said to the board when we were making a decision on whether we should reopen schools or not, that whether we liked it or not, in that moment that we were living through history, we had to ask ourselves how we wanted history to judge us. And I think for the last 2 years, we did everything right for our students, everything right for our staff, everything right for our community. A lot of things probably you could look back in retrospect and maybe they were silly, maybe they were asinine, but we did the right thing at all times. So thank you to the board, thank you to the teachers, thank you to everybody that did the right things all along the way. So for the purpose of the board agenda item, so what I have here, and I did prepare just a little bit of something. I have a book that is being donated to the Dos Palos High School Library by Gary Giannone Sr. So bear with me here as you try to understand this, because in my infinite way of being related to somebody. So Gary mailed this to my mother back in December, and I missed the January, February board agenda, so I apologize for that. After you found out that I was working for Dos Palos High School. Gary's wife, Diane, had a mother named June, and June was the sister of my great-grandfather and fellow World War II veteran Jack Robinson. So in short, my great-grandfather's niece was Rudy's daughter. So if you can condense that. So, but this book is a copy of the self-published autobiography of Gary's father, Rudy Giannone. Rudy was a 1940 graduate of Dos Palos High School, a member of the greatest generation in this country. He was a first-generation American, born to Italian immigrant parents. In 1942, although being exempt from conscription due to the fact that he was working for the railroad considered part of the war effort, Rudy chose to enlist in the Army Air Force to serve his country during World War II. So this book begins with his roots and takes you through the early years of his life, his enlistment and services in the military, and subsequently his status as a prisoner of war in Europe. His story will capture your heart and cause you to understand patriotism and bravery that was a trademark of this generation. The one that saved the free world from tyrannical leaders. After the war, he carried on with his life. He married, raised a family, and became the patriarch of generations who loved and adored him. I can't think of very many books that are on Dos Palos graduates, whether self-published or mass-published. So this was definitely special for any of our students and staff that should check it out. It is self-published. If you guys are interested in a copy, Gary has extra copies that he mails out. If you contact him, there's a couple copies floating around on eBay, but I think it's a cool little piece that will have a special place in the high school library. So if you guys have any questions, I can answer them the best way.
Thank you for that donation. It's awesome to see that. From Dos Palos.
And I'll send it now. Once it gets approved, I'll send a thank you letter to Gary on behalf of the district. Thanks.
Thank you.
10.8 board meeting minutes. February 17, 2022, regular board meeting. Warrants and payroll. Motion.
So move. Second.
Moved by Mr. O'Daniel, seconded by Mr. Barnes. Call for the vote. Action items, 11.1, AG completion improvement grant plan.
So move.
Moved by Mr. Bannon, go second.
Second.
Second by Mr. Bonds. Call for the vote.
Mr. Hall.
Mr. Hall.
Yep. So we had a draft come to you last board meeting presented by Mr. Mendez. And so this is the plan for approval.
Call for the vote. It passes. 11.2, ripples effects, SEL program. Motion.
So move.
Second by Mr. Bench, seconded by Mr. Bonds. Mr. Hall.
We're using Title I funding for a ripples effect. It's a platform that provides social, emotional learning and mental health support to specific to each student that we can assign to each student to help start replacing behaviors. Unwanted behaviors.
Question from the board. Call for the vote. Eleven point three, declaration of appreciation of teachers and classified employees.
So move.
Moved by Mr. O'Banion, second by Ms. Davis.
So in honor and recognition of dedication and work ethic of the certificated and classified staff members, the district proclaims the week of May 2nd through 6th of 2022 as teacher appreciation, and the week of May 15th and to the 21st as classified school employees appreciation week. We, the district, will be celebrating both of those members or those units in the middle. So it'll be the week of May 9th through 13th for all district employees that will be celebrating.
Any questions from the board? Call for the vote. Eleven point four, Red Cross agreement.
So move.
Moved by Mr. Bond, seconded by Mrs. Davis. Ms. Wall.
This is an agreement with Red Cross for training services for our staff to train our students and staff by the American Red Cross.
Passes. 11.5, revised regular board meeting date, April 14th, 2022. Moved by Mrs. Davis, second.
Second.
Yeah, so we'd just like to move the board meeting week up 1 week, so it's the third Thursday.
Could we get the results of the votes to come up?
I don't have it on my computer, that program.
To make sure you give the vote count.
Not connecting to the board.
Just give whatever it is, give it,
He's messing with you.
just so they know.
All right. Any questions from the board?
No.
Call for the vote. It's round one. And it passes unanimously. 11.6, revised COVID-19 prevention plan.
So move.
Moved by Mr. O'Banion, second by Mr. Bonds.
COVID-19 prevention plan with the updated masking.
Any questions from the board? Call for the vote. And it passes unanimously. 11.7, 2022 Summer Aquatics Program. Have a motion.
So move.
Moved by Mr. Banion, second by Mrs. Davis.
Excited to bring back community swim during the summer for our students and the community. This is the program budget and the aquatics flyer that we'll be pushing out.
This will open up the pool to.
This will open up the pool for community swim, for adult lap swim, for lessons for swimming lessons.
Will there be a cost for this program?
So it's $14,000 cost to the district that will be using ELOP funds for the extended learning opportunity. So using those, it'll be free for TK through 6th grade students, and then $1 entry.
Free for TK students.
Yes, we'll be working on the junior high and high school students as well.
Awesome. All right. Call for the vote. And it passes unanimously. 11.8 revised COVID-19 prevention safe return to school plan for the 2021-2022 school year.
So move.
Moved by Mr. O'Banion. Seconded by Mr. Van Wert. Ms. Wall.
To reflect. So same thing, it's reflecting the masking, so updated for students, the other one was for staff.
All right. Any questions from the board? Call for the vote. And it passes unanimously. 11.9, resolution number 21-2213, California Schools Healthy Air Plumbing and Efficiency Program.
So moved.
Moved by Mr.
Second.
Bond, seconded by Mr. O'Banion.
So we actually brought this to the board at the last board meeting, and Mrs. Kalpinski did a presentation for the CalShape program grant. We just need to do the paperwork a little bit differently. So that's bringing forth same information, different paperwork.
All right. Board have any questions? Call for the vote. And it passes unanimously. 11.10 MOU between Dos Palace, Merced County Office of Education, Mitchell Casados.
So move.
Moved by Mr. O'Banion, seconded by Mr. Bonds.
So our goal is to continue to increase counseling services so that all of our students have access to counseling services. This is an MOU with MCOE to allow internships or interns to work under Mitch Casado's license.
Providing supervision then for our counselors, correct?
For interns from the county,
For interns in the county. Okay, awesome.
mental health services.
Any questions from the board? Call for the vote. (11.11) resolution number 21-2214, classified employees summer assistance program.
So move.
So moved.
Moved by Mr. O'Banion, seconded by Mr. Bonds.
So this is a program in which our 10 and 11 month employees can pay into all year so that they don't only get checks in 10 months, they actually can get checks for the 11th and 12th month that they normally wouldn't be.
Any questions from the board? All right, call for the vote. Passes unanimously. 11.2, tentative agreement between Dos Palace Orloma Joint Unified School District, Dos Palace Orloma, California School Employees Association, SCEA, chapter number 761 regarding salary schedules.
So moved.
Moved by Mrs. Davis.
Second.
Second by Mr. O'Banion.
So we're recommending a tentative agreement between us, the district, and CSEA for the 2021-22 school year.
Any questions from the board? Call for the vote. And it passes unanimously. 11.13, public disclosure notice of proposed bargaining agreement with the Dos Palace Orloma Joint Unified School District and the Dos Palace Orloma CSEA chapter number 761 in accordance with AB 1200 and the government code section 3547.5.
So move.
Moved by Ms. Davis, second by Mr. O'Banion.
So this is piggybacking the last one. So this is the disclosure for the financial implications of what that agreement will impose.
All right. Any questions from the board? Call for the vote. And it passes unanimously. 11.14, resolution number 21-22-15, rural school district exemption, SB 328, in the matter of establishing late school start.
So move.
I have a motion. Moved by Mr. O'Banion, seconded by Mr. Van Worth.
So Governor Newsom signed SB 328 into law declaring that schools will start at a later date, starting next school year, unless you declare yourself a rural area.
Later
So-
time, right? Not date.
I'm sorry, later time, so 8:30 start time. So we are declaring and providing proof that Dpol is considered a rural and can continue our current practices starting at the same time as we are now.
Any questions from the board? Call for the vote. And it passes unanimously. 11.15, 2022 TK High Summer School.
Second.
Moved by Mr. Davis, seconded by Mr. O'Banion.
So can't believe we're here again, but we're ready to propose a budget and a plan for TK to high school summer school. Last year, the DPE and Marks camp went great. It seems like our students enjoyed it, our parents enjoyed it. So we're going to continue with the camp model at the Bryant Middle School, kind of a hybrid between an academic learning loss mitigation with some camps on Fridays, and the high school will be credit recovery with some acceleration opportunities.
Any questions from the board? All right, call for the vote. And it passes unanimously. Personnel, coaches and volunteer coach.
So move.
Moved by Mr. O'Banion, seconded by Mr. Bones.
Yep.
Questions?
Do you mind pulling that up for me? You guys have it in front of you. I just wanted to. Thank you.
Board have any questions in regards to that list? All right, call for the vote. We have 6 in favor and 1 opposed, Ms. Lisa Arrayes. And it passes. Certificated staff, 12.2.
So move.
Second.
Moved by Mr. Banion, seconded by Mrs. Davis. Is there any questions from the board?
We have it.
Illegible.
We have it.
We do have it. Call for the vote. We have 6 in favor and 1 abstained board member, myself, and it passes. .3 classified staff.
Someone.
Second.
Moved by Mr. Davis, second by Mr. Bonds. Does the board have any questions in regards to? All right, call for the vote. And it passes unanimously. Written reports, 13.1 health services, Priscilla Whitaker, credentialed school nurse.
Oh, we have
You
we have
missed
one
one.
more.
Wait, did I miss one?
12.4.
Oh, I'm sorry, 12.4, my apologies. Create and hire a head lifeguard.
So move.
Moved by Mr. O'Banion, seconded by Mr. Bond.
So this will support the aquatics program. There's not a name yet, but we job description
We are approving this position so that we may hire, correct?
Good question.
All right.
In creating, we haven't had it prior.
Any other questions or comments from the board? Call for the vote. Passes unanimously. We are now on to written reports. 13.1, Health and Services, Priscilla Whitaker, credentialed school nurse. 13.2, Maintenance Operations and Transportation, Matthew McCullough, Maintenance Operations and Transportation Director. 13.3, Preschool, Virginia Franco, Preschool Center Director. 13.4, Technology, Pajay Lee, Technology Systems Director. 13.5, Human Resources, Jason Von Allman, Assistant Superintendent, Human Resources. 13.6, Education Services Board Report, Assistant Superintendent, Sergio Mendez. Is he gonna make a report or we're good?
No, it's just written.
Okay, 13.7, Food Services, Rhonda Sullivan, Director of Food Services. 13.8, Special Education, Laura Delmas, Director of Special Education. 13.9, Intervention and Alternative Education, Holly Crivelli, Director of Intervention and Alternative Education. Future agenda and items requested. 14.1, request from the board members for future agenda items. Ms. Austin. Mr. Van Wert.
I do. It's more towards, I don't know if it's custodians or the director of MOT, but I heard there's an electron problem at the elementary grade. And my kindergarten and second grader just could not believe what was going on around there. So I don't know if that's an exterminator, what it is, but
Right now.
I don't know. They just said there was some little green thing running around. I don't know what's going on. So
We need to have that taken care of.
they did.
Awesome to hear that. I have. This is the-
I would like to agendize increasing this subpay.
Subject.
What's to pay? This is the risk.
Six, three, 300, one. That's what you said, it's like you got.
No, I don't have anything.
Nothing? Mr. Vaughn?
Nothing.
Nothing, okay. 15.1, adjourned meeting.
So moved.
Greg Benyon and Mr. Van Wert.
No discussion.
Call for the vote.
Hey, Dottie, is it, we supposed to fill this out?
Yeah, I just need the size. This is where it is.
You just need to know how tall.
I think we just filled out. I'm not gonna put 4.9 to 4.11 on it.